So, Canada, Trump, trade, and tariffs. Now, I know that I don't usually talk about politics here on the podcast, but I think we've hit a point where it behooves me to actually talk about this, since Canada's survival really is at stake, its sovereignty, and so I'm going to speak about it. Now, like I said, I don't usually speak about politics on here. I am very political on other platforms, X especially, not so much on Facebook, not so much on Instagram, but X, I'm pretty political, and TikTok as well. Um, so much so that recently I had gone to an event, and someone came up to me and they went, "Are you Jeffrey Luscombe?" And I said, yes, thinking they're going to just say, I really love your books or I really hate your books. And they said, oh, you're that guy who hates Trump. You're that elbows up guy. And I'm going, oh, man, you can only be a meme for so long. But yeah, that is me. So that's why it behooves me to actually say a few words on this ridiculous trade and tariff problem. Really a war between Canada and the United States. Um, so negotiations seem to have been going very well. They were tough, but they seemed to be going well, and it looked like a deal was in sight. And at the last minute, there was a bunch of different things were thrown in, requirements by Trump administration and the United States on what they expected from Canada, and some of them were just not going to happen. They wanted veto rights over who we could do deals with, and they wanted um, there was they didn't like rules about our French language laws, and that was never going to happen, and a number of other things that just don't make sense to a sovereign country, and you don't dictate to. And it was so. Of course, Canada walked away. Like we would never sign something like that. And it's also bargaining in bad faith. And there was also like a kill switch on this, where at any time and for any reason, like this fake fentanyl or the fake, all the you know, child labor laws or whatever, like nonsense that Trump had brought out to put these tariffs in, that he could at any time just sort of like impose tariffs on us again. So there's absolutely no reason to sign any agreement with that in there. When you go in and you try to negotiate in good faith with someone who is not negotiating in good faith, then the deal isn't worth. And like our Prime Minister Carney said, it's not. It's written in pencil. It's not worth the paper it's written on. And the thing is now is that the rest of the world knows this too. Is that if you're going to deal with this person in the White House, um, then like any deal is practically not worth the paper it's written on, and you're going to have these nonsense thrown in at the end. And no matter if you go in there with good faith or not, because they are not going to negotiate in good faith apparently. So yeah, I stand with Canada. I haven't mentioned this here, but it is true that I have not been to the United States since he went into office. I had a trip planned in the winter of 2025 to Florida. We usually pop down there for a week or two during the summer. I canceled that. We were going to go to New York City to see some shows and friends later in 2025, and I canceled that, and that was just the end of it. And there won't be any more from me. And I said, unless I'm contractually obligated with my books, then I won't be going down to the United States. I'm not going down. I'm not spending a penny in the United States. I'm not spending a penny down there, not in your guest houses, not your restaurants, not your hotels. I'm not interested in giving you my money at this moment. And I know it's hurting the tourist section down there, sector down there. And I can only say, tough, tough. Florida voted for the guy. I don't care. I don't care if you're having hard times. I don't care if no one's coming. I hear about farmers upset and they're getting foreclosures. I don't care if American farms are being foreclosed on because of tariffs, or if there's a problem, beef. He's going to bring in all this beef from different countries, and the cattle people are going, "Oh, you're going to ruin our business. You're going to lower cattle prices, and we're going to lose our farms." I don't care anymore. You know, like during Trump 1.0, I had all the sympathy in the world for the United States, but when they did it again and they knew exactly what they were getting, well, that's that's it for me for now. So I never really thought that the agreement was going to go through, and just be like I said, because you're dealing with someone who negotiates in bad faith, which is bad and wrong, and it's not the way to do business. It's not the way for someone uh, leading a country like the United States to act. But that's where we are now, and I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for him. You guys elected him twice, and so that's where we are now. And that's where Canada is. And Canada is not buying American produce. We're not, and like just the problems with American produce since the changes haven't gone with this administration and safety, and there's parasites in lettuce, and there's worms in the cattle, and there's what's in the peppers. Is it E. coli, and it's just one thing after blueberries. Blueberries have E. coli, which is supposed to be like the worst. It's just like the status was the worst with these blueberries. So why would Canada buy this stuff anyways? It's just beyond me, especially like in the middle of a trade war, and that's what we're in now. So yeah, so Trump put 50% tariffs like on this, all of these things that are Canadian, and fine, that's just another tax for Americans. I don't like I don't care much that you're paying more, that they're paying more for things. They wanted this, so they'll pay more for things. I would like to see, the things that like electricity. We sell more oil to them than anybody else. They have a huge amount of our electricity comes down from us. Potash, which you need to grow things, these things which have all these parasites. Um, our potash, I would say put a surtax on that of like 50%. Like, and even more farmers will probably lose their farm and be foreclosed on. And I don't care. I don't care. Anything you need, I think, should be up during this trade war of either you're not getting it or you're going to pay through the nose for it until, you come back to bargain in good faith. So, yes, I'm Canadian. Canada's strong. We used to say elbows up. Um, so that's where we are right now. Yeah, we're not buying your stuff. We're not going down to visit. We're not spending money on your stuff right now. And did I mention who I am? Did I mention who I am? My name is Jeffrey Luscombe. I'm a writer. I write two novels. Maybe I'll write another one. I don't know. We'll see. First one is Shirts and Skin. Second one is called To Refrain from Embracing. That's a line from Ecclesiastes. There's a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. And the novel's about growing up Gen X in a tough Canadian steel town. Yeah, and talking steel is like I think that's probably what we'll do as well. Is Canada will probably put a big tariff on American steel, so companies up here will buy uh, Canadian steel and not buy American steel because it will be a lot more. Which, you know, too bad. We'll use our own steel and aluminum as well. As Americans really need aluminum, I think we should like surtax the heck out of that and make them pay through the nose until this is done. Because again, I have friends and family down there. I lived in the United States. I lived in Atlanta for a long time as a computer programmer. For a long time, I have friends down there. I love it down there. But you elected this guy twice. This guy is negotiating for you, and at this point in the Canadian history, we have to, circle the wagons and look after ourselves, and it's as simple as that. And so that's what we're doing. Like I said, I don't usually get political on here in the podcast because I'm not a politics podcast. I like talking about books. I like talking about me and Gen X. I like to keep it fun. And and what other people want to talk about, or people ask me questions about my books, or um, that sort of thing. That's how where I like to keep the podcast and where I like to keep the Substacks. If you look at my Substacks, I talk about, what's it like writing books when people think, you're talking about them. And I look at sort of Truman Capote and the problems that he had with the swans, as opposed to Proust when he wrote about society. And I write about, Nietzsche versus Proust in the movie. If you ever saw it, it just had its 20th anniversary of Little Miss Sunshine, and sort of the tension between that. And this kind of things that interest me that I know nobody else is interested in, to be honest. I don't, it's not a huge amount of people who are interested, but it's the things that interest me and that I kind of put up on the Substacks for a really acquired taste. And that's why, I kind of stay away from politics on this platform because I'll tell you, I'm pretty political uh, on X and TikTok, where people hate me. People like me too, but a lot of people hate me, and so I had to say something about that. I had to say something about being Canadian, standing up for Canada. Canada strong, and where we are now, and where we would continue to be, and if we have to ride this out, and it'll be hard. It will be very difficult for Canadians with these tariffs in a lot of ways, and what we can buy, and prices may go up. But if we have to ride this out until his time in office is gone for 2 and a bit years, we will do that. We have been around for a very long time, and we're not going anywhere in Canada. And it's amazing that so many Canadians, like while Trump is sitting like in the high 20s and he's underwater in 47 states and literally nobody likes him except like weirdos, and the cult members, the mega cult members that are still there. Like our prime minister is so well respected in this country, and Canada is firmly behind him, and that's going to make a difference in trade negotiations as well. Because I already see like down there, people are turning on him, like the farmers and the cattlemen, and like he's having all these, senators from Maine who I don't particularly like either because they saw their travel nosedive. Um, Wanting to get this deal that, we would like a deal too. We just want it to be beneficial for everybody and doesn't actually attack our sovereignty, attack who we are, or have these backdoor um, rules that you can decide what we do, how we do it, because we are our own country. We're going to stay our own country. And that, I think, is about it that I can say on the subject. And next time we'll get back to leave me a comment. Let me know what else you'd like to talk about more on the fun, easy breezy stuff. You want to talk about books or being Gen X or being Canadian, living in Toronto, art, geography. Um, my focus in college in university was 18th century literature, which is always fascinating and always like for like 2 or 3 people out there, but happy to talk about that. And the rest of it we will leave for now. But I stand firmly with Canada, and that's where I have to stand. And that's it for now. Jeffrey Luscombe, author of Shirts and Skins and To Refrain from Embracing, available anywhere that books are sold. And you can just Google me, and you'll be able to find my books on Amazon or anywhere. We have an audiobook of Shirts and Skins. We don't have an audiobook of To Refrain from Embracing yet. Hopefully get that out soon. Oh, and the audiobook is not read by me, so you don't have to listen to this voice. They hired, the publisher hired a professional person to actually read the book. So yeah, you don't want to listen to this voice for an entire novel. So that's it for me. And hopefully we get this thing settled. Hopefully we can all be friends again. Hopefully we can buy stuff from each other and make lots of money. I'll buy your stuff. You buy my stuff. Buy my book. I'll buy your book. Buy our paper. Make books with our paper and read our authors. And if you want to support Canada, buy Canadian products, buy Canadian books, buy Canadian if you want to support Canada. And that is it for me. Thank you very much, and have a good day.